You got people like Lil Wayne up here and shit like that crying over their masters. I made my own versions of masters. So don't let me get lit like Lil Wayne and them. I already gonna be their teacher. Like Jay-Z ain't gonna be able to teach me shit. You had to go through ups and downs to get your masters. I created a whole new way to get your own masters and teach other people how to do it. And if the Lord's will nothing happen, I was to get on y'all level, you definitely can't tell me shit. And that's the only time I'm gonna use definitely. You definitely won't be able to tell me shit. Because I did whatever you did better than you without the Jews. I sparked my own light. I ain't had to go get no deal. I made my own deal. You know what I'm saying? Real shit. I had to go get no label. I made my own label. I just had enough courage because I remember all my lifetimes how to just do it myself. And when you do it yourself, the shadow government can't do nothing but look at you as competition. You know what I'm saying? Now, I could get lost in their assassination character witchcraft where they change the world around me and make me look like what I'm doing is impossible to manifest. But I'm with God. So God give me the right actions and wording to make that impossible for them to do it. So they got to try hard and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how they, because when you come here, this is where y'all get the game fucked up. And this is why y'all always put y'all gifts and talents in the back seat. They made y'all care more about their shit and being good in their shit. And if you're not doing it, you don't see no examples in front of you. Because everybody generational cursed out of a person caring more about their gifts and talents. But this is what they did for them to even create the business, entertainment, education, religion, and politics. This is what happens, right? When you care more about your gifts and talents and not so much of the world of looking normal and familiar, then going for your gifts and talents, because that leads to wasting time anyway and not even getting the full potential and being unfulfilled. When you care more about your gifts and talents, and let's say you don't care about the shadow government, you spark your own light. You're going to be witty and gifted enough with your energy and aura to make people give you attention, right? If you hard enough, the shadow government just cobalt mines. All the attention is leaving their system, and whatever that you're doing is going towards you. So they're going to try to capitalize off of it. So what you did was this. You changed the world to look like you. So all ways of making money or looking like what it means to be lit, it's going to start to look like it's what you doing. So whatever you doing, since you was the first one to do it, and people were scared to do it because it's something new, and they have to wait that you do it, you the first person. So you teach people the negative that come with it, people who are scared to do it, so people will never be able to get the full maximum of it as you. But this is the only way you're supposed to go about it if you're a powerful spirit. This is how people like me made YouTube. Now it's possible to get paid off YouTube for people who didn't care about getting paid, but since they was using so much of their creative gifts and talents, regardless if they had jobs or not, on this, it was making other people pay attention to it. And then they was making other people do it. So the world was cobalt mines. The shadow government was like, okay, where everybody attention going? Because our cartoons is not being paid attention to on our regular shit anymore. So we have to put our shit on the shit that the people who are the economy is giving the power to. Where your attention go, your energy go. Our mind is us making energy as spirits. Your spirit ain't the energy. We create that. Your awareness is you creating energy, right? So that's showing you your power, but you don't see it that way because you so bent under their survival mode. And when they be putting you into can't argue for or get something, you give them enough wiggle room to give you another convenience, and it will be no such thing as you going out to vote if that ain't the case in operational variables. But when you are just in your own mind, it don't matter what you're doing. If you drawing a whole lot of attention to something, they change the world to look like you. Now, people who don't know how to create a purpose, aka be themselves and bring their spiritual individuality out and create a gift or talent, all your spiritual abilities that will be gifts or talents is not the vulnerable becoming an ego. It's the ego protect the vulnerability because you don't want to be seen the way the world constructed them, and your gifts and talents get put in the back seat. And therefore, you get put into thank you so much for the donation, Brain Freeze. And then you get put into the situation where that you're actually wasting more of your time trying to do the shit that they need you to do in order for you to think, okay, I got enough money now, or I got what it looked like, or I got the objects to take, or I got the support now for me to go for my gifts and talents. And then it still be phony. And therefore, you wasn't living for yourself. You was living for the world. So instead of you changing the world to look like you to get paid, and now it created a circumstance where you can give less of your time and get more out of the world and get more money. 10 seconds of your time, one verse of your song could get you paid somebody's income tax times 10 in one day, right? Instead, you was frustrated and peer pressured by the world and the esoteric clouds they be throwing at y'all. And then when you receive it in your solar plexus, you start to give out in their magic square. And then for the most part, you get crumbs. Now you have to give more of your time for less of the world. You have to give 12 hours out of your day just for $7 an hour or $12 an hour and things of that nature, right? So you have to give a whole 12 hours for $14. You know what I'm saying? And things of that. So you get what I'm saying? If I even said that right. But you get the point. You have to give more of your time for less when you peer pressure by the world and you put your creative gifts in the back seat because you feel like I got to do these things my mama's saying, or I got to do these things the world and esoteric man dick is saying for me to not look crazy to my age group or just my people that's expecting this from me because they're agents. Right? And therefore you will start to never experience. That's like you jumping on the esoteric public transportation and their worship. They promise you that you're going to go to the Holy Land, but they keep making stops and making you be tourists, aka go look around and fight their battle that you don't even know that you're fighting. And you think that when y'all get back on it, y'all going to go to the promised land this time and you never get there. AKA the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension, that witchcraft light bend in on itself and become the ritual and spell with our body. Your grandma died without seeing Jesus come back, but yet she was being promised that her whole time when she was alive. You get it? Your grandma was like, no, Jesus is going to take care of this illness. Leave me alone. And she died and Jesus never took care of the illness. So she was on that esoteric worship. She didn't realize she was supposed to create one with her children. She didn't teach you how to create a sword. She taught you how to go work in Babylon and go buy a sword at their Home Depot. So the sword you fight be dull. It's not sharp. So in the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension, when you practice that light down here in the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension, from the 4th, 5th, 6th dimension, as you go to Home Depot and going to get one of them swords that grandma told you to go work at they McDonald's to go get. That's your logic and your words down here not being flaming, not being sharp. So everything that you try to claim that you believe in leads into nonsense and contradictions and shit like that and misunderstandings. And you just not being able to logically. So your grandma taught you how to go get a weak sword from the shadow government. She taught you how to walk out Babylon. She taught you how to go get a weak shield from Home Depot or Lowe's. So the blockage to your space as a spirit, you create your moon chakra, your feelings, and that you're supposed to make it a hard conviction, a hard shield. So no matter what sword or rock somebody throw at it, it don't pierce that shield for you to feel naked and vulnerable and put your defensive down. You could be emotionally strong about what you believe in and what sword and what words you casting. Right? So she taught you how to get a weak shield. So you be arguing out of your woman, whether you're a male or female. Anybody could damage your sword because it's a weak sword and damage your shield and make you defenseless. And now you look like you crashing or arguing with someone out of your emotions down here. Oh, and why you just don't accept my bullshit type shit. So your grandma taught you how to have a weak defensive system, which is a sword and shield. And she made you hop on the wrong bus because y'all ain't have a car. So she made you hop on the wrong bus. She made you hop on a public transportation because that's all she been doing in the esoteric Babylon and shit like that. So she made you hop on a bus, a warship. So you start to worship the wrong thing. You got the wrong defense system with everybody on that bus with them weak ass dull swords and shields. And then y'all never reach promised land because y'all keep being tourists. Y'all worship Baal. So y'all like to stop and keep looking at all the pretty structures they had y'all previous grandmothers built and shit like that y'all don't know. And then that's y'all fighting the battle. So when y'all get on the bus, y'all just all arguing with each other like, I like that one. I like this one. And anybody who don't like this and who ain't on this worship, they don't know what esoteric public transportation they missing. This is the best one ever. And y'all forget that y'all still supposed to go to the destination. You know what I'm saying? But every time y'all get out and go sightsee and shit, things of that nature, that's like in the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension, you defending that faith before you even got prosperity. So your ancestors don't work, but you praying to them. Or your gods that they got you believing in don't work. So you up here talking about voodoo, the shit that the slave mind person and the sheep mind created because the shadow government gave them a word and a meaning to their gods. And since they don't like the way the shadow government, how they even know about these gods, is treating them, then they come up with their own subsidiary version of it to pray that that same God let them out of that jail cell or change the mind of the rulers that they learned that word from. So that's the very early stages of voodoo. And that's all you see in today's time in the Kemet community, conscious community, people who religious, what your grandmother do, is all witchcraft. Using a mental state that got power on it based on general consensus, everybody else believing in it, it's a floating cloud, and casting that on to another person to force them to believe what you want them to believe, because you ain't got enough power to spark your own light and have the right wording without that shit to make somebody believe what you want them to believe in your mind. So that's witchcraft. And then that's narcissism if you don't have to use that thing and you just doing it for the sake of forcing somebody to believe what you believe, and it ain't got nothing to do with God. That's the narcissism version of it. So anybody who even religious, your God is a narc, because that trait for you to even have that mind state come from a narky trait who don't even have to use the Bible to do that. So if you're religious and you're doing that, your God is a narky, because your God didn't have no Bible to know that energy. And if your God expressing energies like that, for you to know that's God's word, for you to know your God, you have to know jealousy. For you to know your God, you have to know narcissism, right? Or how you gonna know your God? See, this is the language of God. This angels. Thank you so much for the donation. Hey, you. Now I ain't forget. I'm just getting out my emails. I was doing readings. So that's how you find, that's divine revelation. The word comes from the vibration. As a spirit, you got to be in a certain state, create the states of awarenesses, the vibration, and then make a word out of it, externalize it. So this will make you say ah or ah. So that's polarization, equalism, stubborn or consistent, positive or negative, but maintaining a certain position. And then you can do that in other areas. You know what I'm saying? So hold on, I got another point too. Create the states of awarenesses. You have to know narcissism, right? So for the most part, angels, John D. Edward Kelly summoned me to understand how to speak the language of God. So a religious person, they don't understand that's where parables come from. So when I say Solomon Temple, you ain't gonna find it in reality. That's what it means. Tower of Babylon, you ain't gonna find it in reality. That's what it means. So if you're finding the people and the history, you think it's a history book. So you think God, a physical God, actually came down here and make people start speaking different with the native tongue. No, that's just because you came out of different geographical location. That ain't even what they talking about. You came out of a different water with your organs and shit. But if you was a part of a spiritual concentrated group, you got similar forms. You just do it in different ways. And your concentrated micro version of it might came out of a certain water that land derived out of, became land creatures, higher version of water, air, all puns intended, spirit. And then spirits take those forms. And that's the only reason you got a different language. The Bible is talking about their God, their mind, and their concept of, if all of y'all don't agree with the terms and conditions of their law and order of what they're trying to build as far as a construct, then they will create a mind state to tear y'all shit down. So it don't matter what language we speak, right? Anytime me and you trying to build, that's why we use that parable of building. If we trying to agree on something that don't got nothing to do with their world, their gods and shit like that, right? They'll tear that shit down. Anytime you try to build a community that ain't got nothing to do with their religion, business, entertainment, education, and politics, they use Yahweh. As above, the sun and Aries energy, and as below. Go to war and create that Moses war shit and spread y'all Red Sea trying to build a community that ain't got nothing to do with their God world. That's what it means. That's witchcraft. Or a man and woman wouldn't think it's important enough to write it down if they're not actually doing it, and we see it in today's time, or it would be no such thing as people running the world. It's a practice. You can do this in your little small community. You will make a gang. Duh. Or there would be no such thing as all these gang names being in the Bible too. You know what I'm saying? How the Bible gonna tell you to stop talking about astrology when Orion is in the Bible, Pleiades is in the Bible, Hermes in the Bible, all this shit is in the Bible. The fuck? Where you think you learned that shit from? It's in the Bible. The Citrine, crystals, gems in the Bible, that shit is in the Bible. The Alpha Centauri, that's in the Bible. That ain't no motherfucker shit. That shit in the Bible, motherfucker. So even if you believe in this God or whatever like that, why God talking about that? Because your God was here since the beginning of time, right? So why your God talking about Orion and goddamn it Pleiades and shit, star constellations? Why your God talking about waters above, waters below? Do y'all read your Bible? Like, I don't think so. So when they hear me say stars is water, and the atmosphere is the water, is the star itself, and it make the event, and the event casts a sun, and the sun is the son of God. That's the simple way when you read the Bible. How come when I say that, a person will be like, this pseudo or whatever like that? But then when they go preaching their ceremonies, they think they saying something different. How do you think you saying something different? What? How? You ain't said, the only thing you said was a more lost version and indoctrinated version of it. I just told you what it is in how you can teach a 3-year-old. When we start to talk about the Hemidicado, that's the Latin term for God's relationship with his natures, your spirit relationship with your natures. God, that one entity that they're trying to explain in their shit, their God, whatever. Don't take what I just said and be like, well, I'm separating it and I'm finding real God. God is all possibilities. It ain't got nothing to do with no names and titles and shit. Once you got a name and title, that's somebody's mind. When they was in that space that you are supposed to go into space and create all possibilities down there for the actual spirit. You know what I'm saying? And shit like that.